Welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast, your free weekly resource to make you a better fitness business leader. I'm JT, the boss of Active Management, and I'm pumped with the rest of the Active Management team to be the premier sponsor again in 2017. Doing this helps us achieve our why in business, which is to reduce the healthcare costs across the globe, so we love supporting it. Between you and us, we can get more people moving and more often. So let's get our hustle mode on. No matter where you are listening in the world, make sure you check out www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/active for an extra special business resource to free up time for you so that you can then do what you love. Okay, enough from me. Who's on this week's show, Chantal?
Hey Tribe, now if you caught last week's show, you will have heard me mention that JT from Active Management and I, we hit the gym circuit big time during our recent visit to LA. And you know what? I was thinking about it and I kind of thought, well, rather than you guys just hear from me all about those experiences and what I thought the highlights were, I thought...
Why not hear from me as well?
God, he can't even keep quiet. I meant to do a proper introduction.
Oh, sorry. I've got the endorphins pumping through my body. I've just had a workout. I feel great, and I thought I'd cut in and say, hey, why don't I join this show and tell everybody what I thought as well?
The cat's out of the bag. Hey, JT, welcome back.
Oh, thanks, Chantal.
It's been a little while since we've had you on the show, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, you have rock stars, and I just am the roadie, so... What can I do about it?
Hey, I don't know about that. You have just been presenting at URSA, which I'm pretty sure was like your 10th year in a row. Am I right?
Well, according to my count, yes. I was about to say, according to my count, it's about 20 years, but no. It really was. It was, yeah, it's a privilege and an honour to speak at such a massive conference with so many people from around the world that, you know, come to listen to you speak. So, yeah, it's a real honour to have been asked or selected to speak again, and, 10 years.
And not only did you get asked to speak again, but you actually did 3 different topics this year. You talked about consumer is changing, a lot about social media, going viral strategies to gain and retain with social media, and like, tweet, follow social media strategies. You're all about the social media this year.
Yeah, well, I think I was kind of one of the first people in the industry to really go and say, hey, I'm into this social media thing before everybody else did. And I think Brian O'Rourke and I were early adopters of it, and I know he was on the show last week. So that's why I think I got – alternatively, everybody else said, I'm not going to do it, and they picked me because I was the last man standing.
I reckon they picked you because you know what you're talking about. I actually snuck into one of those sessions and overheard some of your participants chatting about the fact that they got so much out of it. So congratulations to you for doing another sensational URSA once again. Thank you. You know, after doing it for so many years, what for you is the highlight of doing URSA, would you say?
Oh, look, at the end of the day, from a purely egotistical and selfish perspective, the fact that I get asked to speak or selected to speak each year helps me achieve what I want to do in the fitness industry, which is get more people moving more often so we reduce the healthcare costs around the globe. So for me, that's the highlight, is being able to share hopefully some insights to get people running their businesses more efficiently, more effectively, or as we say at Active Management this year, get their hustle mode on. But the thing like this year's conference for me, you know, I think the US is a good barometer on where the industry is and the economy and how everything works. And for me this year, there was a lot of backslapping going on. There were a lot of smiles. There was handshakes. There was man hugs. There were girl hugs. And I haven't seen that in the industry for a couple of years at URSA. And I think I kind of want to say the industry had its mojo back. And for me, that was a real highlight, walking into sessions and just feeling the energy in the place. It's been really tough. I know the economy's been tough around the world and in the US. And so I think that's had an impact on how people feel when they come to those events. And maybe they were faking it. But this year it felt really authentic, really organic, really genuine, that the industry is back. We're doing some really cool shit around the world, and we're proud of what we're doing, and we're changing people's lives. So, yeah, that was the buzz for me being there this year.
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that, because I was chatting to the tribe in last week's show about the things that really stood out for me, and I guess I'm looking at it from the opposite end of the scale because it was my first time there. But what I found amazing is the same as you, and that is it felt as though there was this energy, and I felt it around the networking opportunities, which were, the running into people in the hallway or coming across people walking down the street or whatever it might be. But there was this energy. And as I described it last week, it was as if everyone was working towards a common goal, and that common goal was just health and wellness across the globe. So I feel just like you do. I felt very lucky to have been a part of it. So I'm glad to hear that was your experience as well. But now we need to talk about some gym stuff. This is we're flipping things around a little bit because, we normally get on here and chat about all things business, and this is business as well, but from a different perspective, really, because we put our customer hats on, didn't we? And whilst we were in LA, Tribe, JT and I were training buddies for a week, and we pretty much hit up about 13 or so gym visits in that time. Now, I think of those 13, probably about 9 of them were actual, physically we did a class or we did a workout session. And it was really interesting kind of putting that consumer hat on and stepping away from our roles in the industry to see what the experiences was like and see what the positives and I guess in some case the negatives were. So JT, I'm pretty sure.
Chantal, can I just cut in?
Please
I think
do.
it's important that everybody needs to understand certainly when I do and I made you do this, is that we go in as consumers. We're not going in as a consultant in the industry, or we're not going in your case, as a host of an internationally renowned podcast. We're going in, we're going online to their website, we're filling out the forms that we need to on the website, we're paying for a casual visit, we're not trying to screw them for a free visit. And so we get the complete consumer experience, which I think therefore entitles us to be able to evaluate that experience either on the show or on my blogs or however we choose to do it. If they ever asked, we're from Australia and we do this, this and this. But if they don't ask, well, we're not going to tell them.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? You JT, are a bit renowned for doing this because you are the creator of what I call hashtag place of workout, which is accompanied by what every time?
I look over one of my shoulders, left or right shoulder, depending where it is, and I look at the logo. So it's kind of got half my head and then the logo of where I've worked out that day, and it's a hashtag place of workout.
Yeah, so I reckon a fair few people have seen those photos. So it's my belief. I don't have any hard facts on this, but I'm pretty sure that you have trained at more gyms around the world than anyone else has. So I wanted to chat to you today and just talk about, what was it about those visits that we did that were absolute standouts? And I want to quickly just go through with everyone the gyms that we did visit, the facilities that we did visit. We went to Barry's boot camp, which was in Santa Monica. We hit up CrossFit LA. We went to 2 SoulCycle classes. We went to Psychopathic, which was that was in Santa Monica, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in Santa Monica. Orange Theory Fitness in Santa Monica. Speedplay in LA, downtown LA.
Yep.
Gold's Gym, downtown LA. FlyWheel.
Oh, FlyWheel.
Yeah, FlyWheel. I was on the last day.
Vista.
At Playa Vista. Yep, and we didn't work out in these places, but we did visit Yas. Did I say that right? Yes.
Yeah, yoga and spin.
Yoga and spin. We went to 24-hour fitness and we went to box and burn. I think that was pretty much it. That was about 7 days.
Yeah. Some people go, when can you get a real job?
Yeah.
Try doing that over 7 days. That is a real job. In fact, Tribe, let me just tell you, on the flight home, Chantal said, thank God I'm going home for a holiday.
I think I slept the whole way.
I think I broke you. I broke you.
Okay, so tell me this, JT, like for you personally, of all those visits that we did, what was the highlight? What was the real standout performer? Just before we hear from JT about his standout performer, I do not want you to miss out on hearing this important message from one of our podcast partners. Let the industry leader in club management software and payment processing help you run your business more effectively and efficiently. Request a demo at www.abcfinancial.com. Thank you so much to ABC Financial, and let's get back to the show.
Look, I think, to be honest, I look at those visits probably very differently to you. Look, the way you look at it, I'm probably looking at it really from that business, even a layout perspective, an experience perspective. I think, in fairness, you're moving in that direction, but you probably looked at it more as a programming experience and what the workout was like. So, in a sense, Tribe, you guys that are listening today, you're going to get a perspective of what the workout was like, but also what the business model was like as well. For me, the standout by far was Barry's Boot Camp. It's a brand new studio in Venice. I think when we went, it had only been open a week, so it still had that fresh look and feel. It was very different to every other Barry's that I've ever been into. Generally, the Barry's that you go into it's a much smaller footprint. The roof in the studio is much lower, so the red lights are on you. It's probably not necessarily great airflow in some of the studios, whereas this one had a really high ceiling and the lights hung down, but they weren't on top of you. It had a fantastic new area, which is their stretch area. I don't know whether they're going to run stretch classes or what it's going to look like. I think they don't really know yet, but to have that as an added bonus to the studio, I think, is an amazing attribute to add to their offering. And then they had this huge area, a huge foyer, and their standard little cafe. But I kind of felt that was almost too big. In Barry's in San Francisco, it's much smaller. So when their classes are leaving and classes are starting, you're rubbing shoulders with people, so you have no choice but to engage with other people, whereas this one was quite big. And so I'm not sure how that community feel will go, although I guess in saying that, in Venice, everybody probably knows each other. So, look, I don't know. But it was great fit out, great service. I was really impressed with the direction that Barry's is heading, if that's the direction they're heading.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're so right when you said, I think our perspectives will be slightly different because through my eyes, the memorable part, and as a matter of fact, Tribe, Barry's was top of my list as well of all of those visits that we did. And in my eyes, what I found incredibly appealing about the experience was the atmosphere within the studio. It was the instructor and the energy from the instructor. And it was also a couple of other interesting things. So I just want to quickly set the scene for anyone that hasn't actually been to a Barry's. And I've only been to the one. JT, you've been to a few others. But as you peer through the door into the studio, down one side of the studio is a line of treadmills. And they're the Woodway treadmills. Have I got that right? Yeah, Woodway treadmills. Down the kind of the other side, if you're thinking about a long room, are a whole lot of weight benches, I guess you'd say, and then dumbbells. And so the workout is split up in two parts. There's the running section, of which there were variations, but I would say most people ran on those treadmills. And then there's the weight section, and you could, choose a different weight, and they broke it up into different body parts. So whilst one group was doing the run, the other group was doing, some shoulder weights or some squats or some ab work or something like that. So it was basically varied between the two. So the feeling as we walked into the room was an immediate hit of energy. There is no two ways about that. And the reason that I believe that is the music. So it was the music that was chosen. It was the lighting. So the lighting in that studio was like a reddish sort of color. Really interesting. I've never worked out in that before. It was like a reddish tone. So you kind of walked in feeling as if you were walking into a nightclub or something like that. It was really cool.
And the music was loud.
And the instructor straight away sort of came up and made sure we were okay and we were settled. And I might add, it was because it was my first time, and I don't know if they would do this each time. It's probably first time. The person who was at front desk walked me in to the room, introduced me to the treadmill, made sure that I knew what to do and where to go, even though sort of the class was just right at that second of starting, still made sure that I was comfortable, that I could work the treadmill before letting me go. So there was that kind of hand-holding element. So I didn't get let loose into a room and kind of go, oh my God, what do I do now? There was that element of someone walking me in, showing me the treadmill, which was really cool. And from that moment on, for the entire 45 minutes, I think it was, that energy in that room did not drop for a second. And I firmly believe that is a count of the lighting, the music, and the instructor. And all those three elements working together. Would you agree, JT?
Yeah, 100%. That guy on the front desk that took you to the, or the lady, I can't remember if it was guy or girl, took you to the treadmill. You know, that's a classic onboarding experience for a new person that I think happens a lot in a boutique studio, but in a big box gym, we don't do that. We kind of go, okay, we've got your money, there's the gym, knock yourself out, or, yeah, the group fitness class is around the corner. And I think that would be a really interesting concept to explore for big box gyms to really handhold that person in that very first visit. I think that could definitely have an impact on onboarding for loyalty and potentially retention. Yeah, look, I agree. I think for me, going to Barry's, and I'm sure we'll talk about SoulCycle at some stage in the show, it's a complete experience. It's the experience from the minute you walk in. There was music in that large foyer area. Then the music cranked up with a different energy level inside the gym, and everybody was just they were on stage. They were ready to perform. And again, that's a unique thing I believe about studios. I think if anyone's listening to the show in Australia, our instructors are too technical focused. They're instructors and they're tech focused. This guy, respectfully to him, was an entertainer and he was a coach. He didn't really instruct. He didn't really correct form too much. He did occasionally, but he was there to make sure that you had a damn good time. And I'm pretty sure, Fitness Business Podcast Tribe, Chantal had a damn good time, because are you going to confess to everybody how much you spent in the retail store afterwards?
I can't believe you're bringing this up. Okay, in the interest of complete transparency, I was on such a high after I completed this class that I walked out the door. I probably tried on about 10 different outfits, and I probably spent about $200 in the retail store afterwards. So whilst the gym visit itself may have been $25, I think, for a casual visit, I kind of tipped it over the edge a little bit with a little bit of clothing to bring back to Australia. But hey, it was worth every cent.
And I think, you know, one of the really interesting things in that clothing that you bought was you bought a pair of shorts for your husband. He wasn't even there.
Yeah, true.
And you bought them. And that just says to me that you were so impressed with that experience that you wanted to share that with Scott, not just in your memory.
Yeah.
You know, wouldn't it be an interesting barometer on our workouts in our businesses if people bought retail on the way out?
Yeah, it'd be a great not judgment call. It would be a great indication of how they felt.
Can I segue now into SoulCycle? Are we done with Barry's?
No, we're not. One moment, please, because there's one last
sorry, boss.
That's all right. There's one last thing that I do want to make sure that all of the FBP family have heard about, and that is Bosco. We can't leave Barry's without mentioning Bosco. Do you want to tell everyone who Bosco is?
Oh, Bosco is this cool dude. No. Bosco is this app. We might put the link in the show, in the show notes. And what it is, it's like an iPad on a wall. And Barry's have done it really cool because behind where you get your photo taken is their logo. And then you press a button on the iPad and it counts down. And what is it, about 5 seconds, and you move, and then it makes this video of you moving with the logo in the background, and then it emails it to you. It's pretty cool. It's pretty funky. And we just had our workout, and we were pretty hot and sweaty afterwards, but we didn't care. It was like, oh yeah, let's remember this experience. It was cool. And it's a great amazing way to remember that workout. I still look at that video occasionally, Chantal.
Well, for those of you that are Instagram fans, like I'm sure you know I am, it's a boomerang. So the pic that they take.
What's a boomerang?
See, I can teach you things now. So it's a boomerang pic. So I know that many of you will know exactly what I'm talking about. JT's going to check his phone now to see what I'm talking about. So
what is a boomerang?
it's a function in your Instagram stories that takes like a 2-second clip and then just keeps replaying it on rotation, which is why we were making that funny little movement. Yeah, there you go. So, Tribe, what I thought was really cool about this, and JT just touched on it, is the fact that they do email it to you. Instantly, of course, we went and shared it on all of our social media pages, and in the background is all of that branding for Barry's. Oh, and I might add, of course, once you've taken that photo, how do they send it to you? You've got to type your email address into Bosco. So once again, data collection opportunity. Cool?
Yeah.
Okay, now we can talk about SoulCycle.
Yeah. Oh, do we have to? Because I don't want to embarrass you.
What are you trying to say?
So the day before we did our first class in Santa Monica, we were walking around. It was the day we arrived, wasn't it? And so we were trying to stay awake. So we walked down and I said, oh, look, I'll walk you down. I'll show you where the studio is. So we went down, looked at the studio, we went in, and Chantal looked at all of the clothing as a good instructor does, and kind of walked out going, well, there's nothing a lot here that I really like. I don't think I'm going to buy anything, and screwing up a nose at the same time. I think she was almost thinking, why are you even bringing me to this place? And the next day we did a class with Lindsay, and it was a pretty hot class. She was pretty insane as an entertainer, not so much an instructor, as an entertainer. And did you want to confess to what happened after the class?
Yes, I will, since we are going on the theme of open honesty here on today's show. I, once again, was on such a high after finishing that class, and I was so impressed, and I'll tell you guys something in a second which is really interesting. I was so impressed after leaving that class and so excited and energized, and you know that dopamine had kicked in, that I walked out, and all of those clothes that the day before hadn't really appealed to me, all of a sudden I really liked. So and the reason that I want to tell you guys something which is really interesting is I've been a cycle instructor for a long time now, and I have always been, to be fair, pretty critical about using weights in the cycle room, doing any type of this dancing stuff in the cycle room. So I went into that studio that day thinking, I'm going to give it a go, but you know, I think this is a bit silly. I don't really understand why you would, you know, have hand weights in a cycle class, or why you'd feel the need to move around on the bike and do push-ups on the bike and stuff like that. But let me tell you this. I absolutely changed my opinion after doing one SoulCycle class. Now, I don't think that every single person out there is going to fall in love with that format, because the intensity was really high. It was very much that similar environment to Barry's, in that kind of nightclubby vibe, really good lighting, amazing music, entertaining instructor, as JT said. But I 100% feel that there are people that would love that, and we know that because obviously it's a huge success, and that format works. And I did not think I'd say that.
But do you think, like, because of the part of the class at the beginning and then it rolled into the upper body weights, that you kind of got sucked into the energy in that class, that if she'd said get off the bike and dance, you would have got off the bike and danced? You would have done anything, because she just commanded that room with such authority that people would have done whatever she asked them to do. And in this instance, she asked us to pick up hand weights and use hand weights.
Yeah, 100%. And you're exactly right, JT. And that is that person, in this case, ironically, we had two Lindsays, didn't we? We did two SoulCycle classes. Was it Lindsay and Lindsay?
Or was it Deborah?
No, I don't think it was Deborah.
I don't know. Let me look at the picture. I'll see if her name's on my picture.
So nonetheless, so in the first instructor that we had was entertaining and engaging and just a performer, as you said. But the second one was equally so, but brought different qualities to the class. And with that, and you're right, they could have said anything and I would have done anything at that stage because I was so in the moment of the class, and I credit the instructor for that. And the second experience that we had, which was, the first one was in Santa Monica, the second one was in downtown LA, was it? I think. Yep, downtown LA. And she brought a whole different kind of vibe to it because she, and that was definitely Lindsay, was incorporating a lot more, I think, mindfulness motivation into her class. It was a different type of energy, yet that energy was still incredibly engaging and it still utilized the same elements of lighting and music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A loud music again.
Yeah,
loud
music. Yeah. But it worked, didn't it? And after that class, JT, we actually spoke to Lindsay about their training. And what did she say to you in regards to how much training they do to become a SoulCycle instructor?
I think she said they go to New York and they do 10 weeks of training, teaching classes pretty much to other instructors, and they do that 7 days a week for 10 weeks.
Yeah.
I heard a whisper, so I'm just going with the whisper. I'm just promoting this whisper. But I heard at one stage in New York they held auditions for instructors for SoulCycle, and they had like 10,000 people apply for like 100 cycle instructor roles. And I want to say out of those 10,000, there wasn't one fitness instructor there. They were all dancers, actors, entertainers, all applying to work there. And I guess my question to the Fitness Business Podcast tribe, everyone listening, is when was the last time you guys had 10,000 people apply to work for your company? You know, that's something about the culture, something about what they're doing is attracting people. And I think SoulCycle is the darling of the fitness industry at the moment. I really do. I loved the two different workouts that you explained. For me, the first one was brute force, and the second one was this mindfulness. Both different, both outstanding. And I can tell you that in every SoulCycle class I have ever done, I have never looked at my watch.
Yeah, that's a good point. And there's no clock in the room.
And there's no clock in the room.
And there's no mobile phones allowed.
And no mobile.
Yeah.
Oh, tribe, that killed Chantal not having a mobile phone there.
45 minutes without the phone. But
it's like her oxygen tank was left in the locker room.
So you know what was interesting? What is interesting, JT? You just talked about the audition process. And they were actors and dancers. And many times on the show before, we have talked about, when we've had HR experts on the show, we've talked about hiring our personal trainers or hiring our gym facility staff based on their ability to connect with people and their personalities, and then training them on the technical skills. Yeah. This is a great example of why we should be looking at that for our instructors as well.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, when I was at URSA, I spoke to someone and they told me they reckon they've identified the best people to work on front desk in gyms. I went, give me the scoop. They said barmaids.
Oh.
People that work behind bars, barmaids or barmen, because they're used to dealing with a bunch of people in front of them, engaging, making that person in front of them feel really important while still seeing out the corner of their eye that there's 3 other people they've got to get to. And I'm like, wow, what a cool way to think about who do you put on your front desk. That's a skill set. And again, it's like we focus on the fitness part. Let's get out of that and focus on the skill set that we need.
Yep, that's a great tip. Hey, Tribe. So as you can hear, JT and I can pretty much talk nonstop without too much of an issue. The problem is getting everything into one show. So by this point, we were already 30 minutes in and we had only talked about 2 fitness facilities. So I just need you to hold tight because part 2 of this chat is going to continue in next week's show. Okay, for now, stick with me because there's still lots to come today. I think you know that this show would not be possible without the support of our incredible podcast podcast partners, and one of those partners is Precor. And whilst I was at Ursa, I met with one of their customers, Ken Davies, who is the CEO and owner of City Fitness. Now, I can tell you this, over the years, I have done many customer interviews, but you know when a customer truly believes in a product or a service because of the passion that they have in their voice, and also in this case, the smile that they have on their face. And let me tell you, Ken had both of those things. So I started by asking Ken to tell us a little bit about his facility, City Fitness.
Yes, I am. And yeah, City Fitness is a brand that was started in 2007. And what we're first-class fitness facilities in Philadelphia. Our typical floor plate is about 20,000 square feet, fitness only. And we currently have 5 clubs, and we're building a 6th one, which is going to be our largest. So we're actually reaching a little bit higher on this one. It's going to be 40,000 square foot in downtown Center City, Philadelphia.
Exciting.
It's very exciting. You know, this one spans just one floor, so the 40,000 square foot is pretty cool when it spans one city block.
I can imagine. Now, you work with the team at Precor, so do you want to tell us a little bit about what Precor products you have in your facilities?
Sure. Well, you know, I've always heard about Precor, and prior to Precor, I was with another brand, and I always looked at, you know, our equipment as being okay. And it was something that really during a tour was like, hey, we got this equipment and it's functionable. And we never really, I wouldn't say we're really proud of it. You know, it wasn't horrible. It just wasn't something that really stood out. So, you know, through the process and getting to know Precor and my rep, Bill Shotwell, through the years, he was very persistent in keeping me informed with the new technologies and things happen. My leases came up. I had some servicing issues with my previous provider, which made me look very poor. And again, I never thought we had a real wow factor. So what we did, and the products we do have now, is really we went with the top of the line Discovery line. And what I really love is the P82 screens now and all the cardio. So we're 100% Precor.
Excellent. So tell me, when you changed over from the previous provider to bring in those products, what type of business improvements did you see?
Well, right away, there's 2 sides of it. One was from the product side. And I saw an immediate impact just from our members saying, oh, I've seen Precor before. Because, you know what, one thing I did notice, you know, Precors are in some, you know, high-end hotels and different hotels. And, you know, for a member to actually say, I like this and I remember this, and oh, you got Precor. We never heard that with our previous provider, and I wasn't expecting it. So people were super excited once they heard just by name coming in. So that made me feel better. And then once we brought it in, our whole sales process changed. Before, when it was like, hey, there's a piece of equipment, get on, look, it's smooth, you know, it's working. Big deal. Now we actually go and we can say, hey, look at this P82 screen TV. Look what you can do on demand. You know, look at the Priva where you can swipe and remember in your app your workouts. And being now that they're in all of our clubs and we're all in Philadelphia, people bounce around to different clubs and they can go to one club and the consistency's there. But also they can, you know, swipe their card and continue their workout, which is very seamless. But our sales pitch change where we now really use our equipment as a product differentiator in our market, and it works. I mean, you see our salespeople stopping and showing them the P82 screens and the on-demand music and the workouts that you can save, and it's a wow factor.
And would you equate that change that you made to the sales process? Did that equate to a financial benefit for the business, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, do I have the exact numbers? I didn't drive it down that far, but I absolutely sit down with my sales director and even come into the sales and marketing meetings, and they absolutely can put a benefit to the sales process when the people get on and try the machine, or just the recognition of the Precor. They're beautiful piece of equipment, and the whole other side is the service side, which led to a retention. It absolutely is increased our retention. So there's obviously we get more sales because of one of our core values is cutting edge technology and program. So it fit beautifully to then partner up with Precor because the technology is there and it speaks to our core values. So our employees now feel real good to be able to include that, and it just because probably about 70% to 75% are millennials in our demographic, and they really like technology. It absolutely makes people feel more comfortable signing up. And I see more people doing cooler cardio, I call it, because, everybody says get them off the treadmills and bring them down into personal training. We do fine with personal training. We get them into group X classes, but people are still going to go into cardio. But we teach them, and one of the cool factors that they have is it doesn't go straight to go, and quick start. We really tried to preach from day one about results and getting people using the workout programming. And I see people doing cool workouts. I personally am one of those that used to do the quick start. I'm very busy. Even though you have gyms, you don't get to work out much. I've been using the workouts, and I have a MyZone belt, and it makes my workouts much more effective. It's awesome.
That's phenomenal. So what would you say to anyone that is considering bringing Precor into their club?
Do it. No, but seriously, obviously do your due diligence, which I did after I went from, one provider. It was really, I did my due diligence, my investors and my members, my staff, I owe it to them. So I did. And, and it was tough. At first it was fun, new, shiny toys. It's like buying a house. You can start going house hunting. Then before the end, you're just tired. Just give me a house. I'm just sick of it. So we looked at everything, and it really came down to one other provider and Precor. And, I just loved everything they had to offer. And I just felt it matched our core values. And then the second part was I knew what I was getting from a service standpoint. And it's rang true since day one, where I'm, within 48 hours getting something fixed, maybe 24 hours. And if they can't, they're keeping us communicate so we can communicate to our members. Because listen, you can have the best equipment in the world, but if it's not operational, it does not mean anything. And it's basically egg on your face. So what I would say is do your due diligence, but really get in there and kick the tires and try it. I think you'll be sold.
Ken, thank you so much for joining us today on the Fitness Business Podcast. It's been such a great insight to hear directly from a gym owner point of view what it's like to have the equipment within your facility. And I can tell the benefits that you've received from not only a retention point of view, but that change that you made to the sales process, which has resulted in more conversions. So thank you so much for coming on the Fitness Business Podcast.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Tribe, did you hear when Ken talked about using Preva? Well, just to give you a little bit more context around that, if you haven't used it before, basically the Precor equipment is built so that you can utilize Preva, so it's like a personalized fitness experience. And I tried it out the other day. Actually, it was not at Ursa, it was when I got back to Australia, and I was given like a little token and swiped that token up the top of, in this case, I think, what was I on the treadmill to start off with, and it took about 30 seconds, put in my name, I think put in my email address, like just a couple of details about myself, and I think I could have put in a lot more, but it was like really quick, 30 seconds. And then what it meant is that machine can create a personalized experience for me as the exerciser. And then when I went from that machine onto others, I swiped the token again, and it straight away greets you saying, "Hey, Chantal," and then, recognizes and remembers your information. So it's really, really cool. And if you haven't checked it out, I'll make sure that we put the link in the show notes so that you can have a look at the latest range that Precor have, and you can read up a little bit more information about Preva as well. Okay, now let's keep tracking on. Whilst we're on the topic of great solutions for your customers, you need to hear about something new that is coming to the industry, and it is called the Axius Core. And let me tell you, the look of this product fits that name perfectly. Whilst I was at Ursa, I caught up with its creator, Brian Doyle, to hear what Axius Core is all about. Tribe, I'm here today with the founder of Axius Core. It is Brian Doyle. Welcome along to the show, Brian.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Now, our listeners may not have heard of your product before, the Axius Core. So do you want to start off by telling us what actually prompted you to create this product?
Sure, yeah. So basically, I played rugby for the U.S. national team from 2008 to 2014. Early on in my career, 2007, just as I was getting onto the USA rugby scene, I tore my ACL in my left knee. So anyone who's gone through a tough, rehab type process knows that lots of physical therapy, but you also learn a lot about the body. And I became best friends with my physical therapist in New York City at the time, and he taught me a ton: balance, proprioception, joint stability and mobility, all things that are foundational to an athlete. And I really developed a sincere love for that type of training and brought it back into my strength conditioning program as I got back to playing. And it became a pillar for my training. And I saw a gap in the market, really, for an efficient tool that helped you to focus on these principles.
Okay, now you're going to have to paint a picture for us because it's difficult for us to show an image right now. So paint a picture of what the Axius Core looks like and maybe explain the functionality to us.
Sure. So, it's kind of like Bosu Ball meets TRX meets the ab wheel, right? So it's all about efficiency of design. My first partner was a medical design specialist, designing medical products. So we went in there and we said we want to create something that looks really, really cool. That was part of it. We wanted to market something. So it kind of looks like the planet Saturn a little bit.
I think so too. I think that's a bit space age.
Space age, yeah. It's blue. We got a really cool logo, and it's two-sided. So one side, it's basically got a ball, 360-degree roller. It rolls extremely smooth. We've spent so much time on the engineering of the smoothness of that roll, which was no easy feat. But then it's much more than that. You flip it over, and essentially it becomes a dome on one side. So if you think sort of the functionality of a wobble board on one side, and then on the other side, it's an extremely unstable 360-degree roller. We also have developed just very simple 45-degree pattern ergonomic grips into it, which opens up about 5 different ways to interact with Axius from a grip standpoint. You could stand on it and do balance work, and it also acts as a functional weight plate. It's 15 pounds. We put some serious materials into it. I'm 6'7", 250 pounds myself, so the good thing about having a really gigantic prototype test dummy is that you end up with a very sturdy product.
Very, very true. So what we're going to do, Tribe, is because you can't actually see it right now, we will be putting a link in the show notes to some videos, as a matter of fact, that Brian has created that you guys can check out and actually see the Axius Core in action, as well as seeing a photo of it. But I think space age is a pretty good way to describe it. So tell us, because you mentioned that this product was developed off the back of you being injured. So ideally, who is this for?
So ultimately, it is for general population that take their fitness seriously, and they're over the fact that there's no quick fixes out there. This is about foundational strength. It is about long-term solutions to having a fit, healthy body that is not going to give you back pain and joint problems. With that said, we are approaching the market on sort of this back of a CrossFit era type of a community where high intensity interval training is extremely popular, and it's a great way to get fit and athletic. So we're implementing Axius into functional circuit training gyms across America right now. We have a lot of interest around the world because we did do that Kickstarter that got us out there in such a cool way. But so I would say that our target audience right now is that functional circuit gym, that's popping up everywhere on the back of this CrossFit sort of era world we're in right now.
Excellent. So what can people do to find out more information?
Yeah, so our website's axiuscore.com. It's AXIUSCORE.com. And you can follow us on Instagram, where we're releasing your daily Axius, where I'm basically releasing 1-minute videos, educational videos about common problems that people have when training, and 3 ways to fix it, Monday through Friday, followed up by Friday circuit every single week.
Love the sound of that, Brian. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And Tribe, like I said, make sure you jump over to today's show notes, and we'll put all of the links in there, including the website and the videos, so you can check out the Axius Core. Active Management helps owners and managers have the business work for them. Test the quality of resources with a free download at www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/active.
Precor Quickfire 5.
Today's Precor Quickfire 5 is a little bit different to what we're used to. You've heard my answers over the last few weeks, so I decided to change up the questions this week. And question number 1 is, what do I love the most about what I do? And the answer to that is actually the thing that gets me most excited is when I hear from you guys. It's when I get an email or a LinkedIn message or, something on Facebook, or I run into you in person. It's the best feeling to know that we are reaching you and we're making a difference to your businesses. So that means the most to me. Question number 2, what are my goals for the show in 2017? Well, Between you and I want to grow this show to 200,000 downloads by December of this year. It's a big goal, but you know what? I think we're up for it, and I'm actually really confident that we can do it because of the amazing guests that we've got on the show. So every time you download, that helps me that little bit closer towards that goal. So 200,000 for 2017, that's the goal. Next question, what's a personal goal that I have in 2017? Well, I haven't shared this with you guys yet, but I think you know how much I love podcasting, so I'm actually starting a second podcast. It's completely different to this one. It's actually aimed directly at the consumer, and it's called the Sunday Stretch Session. And I am on track for launching April 30th for that. And I'm really excited. It's kind of going back to, I guess, what I'm trained in and what I have done for many years, which is the exercise side of things. And I feel and I hope that I'm going to be providing a solution to a lot of people out there that don't take the time to stretch and, have quite a lot of stress and anxiety and stuff like that in their lives. So this is very much a weekly podcast that is aimed at helping, de-stress, relax, and also helping people with stretch after they've done an exercise session. Another one, what's one podcast that I would recommend and why? Well, we always do one book that we'd recommend, so I thought, why not do a podcast? And there's one that I particularly love. I'm a big fan of one called Online Marketing Made Easy, and it's by Amy Porterfield. I'm sure many of you have heard of Amy before and probably listened to her show, so I do highly recommend that one. It's very specific to online marketing, and it's a great show. Why should you come back next week and listen? Well, because this week was only half the story. I can't quite believe that we only managed to get through 2 clubs, and there's so many more things to talk to you about and tell you about those gym visits in LA. So hopefully you enjoyed this week's, and I can't wait to return with JT next week and tell you a little bit more about some of those gym experiences. That's all for this week's Precor Quick Fire 5. Thanks for joining me, Tribe. Okay, Tribe, so as promised, next week is part 2 of my chat with JT, and it's all about our LA gym visits. I hope that you found a few pieces of valuable advice from what we talked about today. Over the next week, I really do urge you to think about that whole experience that your customer is having with your facility. And it might even be a good time to maybe get someone to mystery shop your facility and see what's working and if there are any areas that can be improved. That is all for this week's show. I know it was a big one, so thanks for sticking around with me. And remember, what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.
Great show this week that you should be suffering DOMs, delayed onset mind soreness, as you are overloaded and that's when your mind is strengthened. You and your business have been strengthened thanks to the amazing support of our premier sponsor, Active Management. Check out www.activemgmt.com.au only if you want to strengthen your business and your leadership. Don't forget all today's links and notes are found at www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, where you can also subscribe and never miss a show and maybe win a prize. Next week is another incredible guest with Chantal, so get ready for more Fit Bizpiration.